Thank you. I did not know I was going to have an introduction because I don't feel like I need an introduction because this is my house, this is my home,
That's right.
and you are my people, right? Come on, if I don't know you, I hope I have the pleasure of getting to know you and hearing your story. And I'm so honored, thank you baby, to let me be here and share from my heart to the women of the house. And it is such a joy to do what we have been doing in the last season. We are in our 9th week, right, babe? Our 9th week of Pneuma Life Church. And every week, there is a new face or a new family that decides to come and experience church and hear from Jesus and have an encounter with Him. And that is priceless to me. And that is something that is a part of Jason and I's heart, because there's one thing that I can guarantee you is that we will always love Jesus. And the second thing I will always guarantee you is that we will always love God's people.
Amen.
And if you do not know us, I promise you that is the truth. And I hope that you can experience that on this Mother's Day. And the word that God gave to me, I have been processing it, right, babe? God's been waking me up around 3 a.m. in the morning. So yes, not bad Chinese food. It's been the Jesus waking me up in the morning. And He has been talking to me about 2 weeks ago. And He wanted to talk to me about Esther. And I love the story of Esther in the Bible. And she has such a dramatic story because my life always has a little bit of flair and drama around it, just a tad. And all of the things that I do or possibly wear, could say, or my eyes when I'm talking to you are going to have some flair of drama in it, because I believe life is to be lived and to be felt to the fullest. And Esther is one person in the Bible who has that story. Brian, you know what? I think I might need that stole for my Bible. You know, I like to spread out. I'm a little messy up here. You can ask my husband. I spread out everything everywhere. I'm going to put my Bible on it. Thank you. Can you guys give it up for Brian? Yes, I have a massive notebook that says yes, not fearless. But you know, that's how I roll, a little bit different. My husband, he's wise, and he is kind, and he is good, and he loves to talk in Greek and Hebrew. I'm going to talk in a little bit more practical language to y'all today. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yes.
So if I have any theologians in the house and I say a name wrong, please forgive me just a bit. And if I have a tendency to get a little bit of my story wrong, don't come up to me or send me a letter and say, you know what, your theology is off. But I will love you anyways. You can talk to my husband about those things. I'm just kidding. I always love to do that. But will you pray with me this morning?
Yes.
Father, thank you for the incredible pleasure of being in your house and with your people and before your women, God, and the men and the kids. And Lord, we love you and we worship you and we honor you, God. And I thank you that you have called me to be a servant only. That is it. And God, all of my days, I pray that I would lay my life bare before you to proclaim your word, to love your people, to sing your praises. And if at the end of our days, Lord, that is all we get to do, then life has been fulfilling. And I thank you, Lord, for every single woman in this house, Father, who is a mother or not a mother. You have called us to be world changers, global impactors. You have given us the ability to carry miracles. And I thank you, Father, that our lives would reflect that our words would reflect that our heart would reflect that, Jesus. And thank you for your words tonight. Thank you for your presence this morning. Thank you for your spirit that is inside of me that will flow out, God. I am the faucet and you are the water, God. Pour through me. And I thank you in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. 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 So if you are a woman in this room and you are not a mother, don't worry. You'll have an opportunity one day to be a mother, hopefully. And you'll have an opportunity to really begin to also encounter other people that need a motherly spirit. Because here's what I believe. If you have never had a chance to have kids for one reason or another, choice, tragedy, devastation, God will always give you the desires of your heart in one form or another. And I can guarantee you that if you trust the Lord, and you lean on him, that he will be faithful.
Yes.
And for all of those in the house that have lost a mother, we see you and we hear you. I know this can be a very hard holiday for some people, and we love you guys, and we don't ever undermine the fact that when we lose a mom, there's a piece of our heart that kind of goes with her. But if she's in heaven, don't worry, you'll see her again, right? Amen. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about Esther, and I want to tell you a story. I'm going to, instead of reading the entire Bible to you this morning, because I know nobody's got time for that, I want to tell you the story about Esther. So we're going to take it back to King Xerxes. That's his name. If I'm saying it wrong, there you go. That's what we're going to call him, King Xerxes. One day, this king, he's the king of Persia, and he just came back from military, an awesome, incredible military might. He had so much to celebrate, so he decided to throw a party for 180 days. Okay? I've never been a part of a party for 180 days, but that is a serious party. So he decided to show off all of his wealth and his wine and his food. And see, back in those days, the men partied separately from the women. We might need to get back to that, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, the men partied separately from the women. And so the king, in all of his glory and all of his wealth, decided there was one thing that he did not show off. And that was his beautiful Queen Vashti, And so he decided to call for her. Well, Queen Vashti, I like this girl. She's got some sass to her, which is nothing that I have at all. And she refuses. Now, back in those days, when a woman refused the king's decree, your life was pretty much over. And so she refused to come and to be shown off for all of her beauty. Some theologians believe it was because she was absolutely stunning that he wanted to show her off to all of the men. There are some theologians that have a different story. In other words, they wanted her to appear naked. But we're not going to talk about that on a Sunday morning. But Vashti refused, and she said, I'm not coming. And the king burned with anger. And I'm assuming that he was intoxicated along with all of his friends. And so all the men, as they do when a woman, turns that man down, they said, what should we do? What do we do? How can a woman ever turn the king down? And so one eunuch said, King, you need to issue a royal decree. Because if you don't, then all the other men in the kingdom will call for their wives, and their wives will refuse them. And so the king issued a royal decree, and he actually banished his wife, the Queen Vashti, from his presence and in his kingdom. There's some beautiful music playing right now. And so Queen Vashti was banished, and that's all that we hear from her. That's it. So let's fast forward in time, and then the king decides he's lonely, right? Come on now. Men change their mind. They realize, what in the world did I just do? Listen, when my husband and I disagree on something, yes, we disagree. Sometimes he'll start saying something, and I'll look at him and I'll say, you're going to regret that in about 2.5 seconds. And guess what? He does. Right, baby? He does. That's all that I have to say. You're not wrong. I don't have to tell him you're wrong. I don't have to tell him you're being rude, or I don't have to tell anything. I just say, you're going to regret that. And guess what? The king regretted it. Yeah. So he decided that he was going to hold a beauty pageant, for lack of better words, and find all the virgin and maidens in the land and bring them to the palace and put them through a 12-month process. All the women said, amen.
Amen.
Some women are like, 12 months of beauty? No way. The 12-month beauty process, and he would literally look at every single maiden that came to the palace, and he would choose another queen. So, when they issued a royal decree, they gathered all of the women of the land. So this is where Esther comes into play. If you ever read the Bible before in this chapter, you will realize her real name is Hadassah. And Esther is her Persian name, and Hadassah is her Jewish name. So Esther is apparently beautiful in form and in face, is what the Bible says. Esther, at a very, very young age, lost her mom and dad. They don't talk a lot about it, but I'm assuming because the Jews were in exile and they were in Persia, that they had a lot of devastation, they had a lot of war, and they had a lot of famine. And so I'm assuming in that process, Esther probably lost her mom and her dad. So her cousin, who was a lot older than her, Mordecai, took her under his wing, and he became like a father to her. Now Mordecai held a lot of influence in the community there in Persia. And he knew that Esther would get chosen, and guess what? She came to the palace. Now, when you fast forward to the story, it goes quite quickly. So we're going to read. Are you guys ready to read? If you have your Bibles, I'd like for you to open up to Esther 2:8. And so if you don't have your Bibles, we're going to have it on the screen here too. It says, so when the king's order and his edict were proclaimed, and when many young women were gathered in Susa, the citadel, in the custody of Haggai. Now let's pause there for a second. Haggai was another eunuch. If you don't know what a eunuch is, you can Google that later. Eunuch, this gentleman was in charge of all of the beautiful maids that came into the palace. He was the one that put all of them through the 12-month beautification process. And so he knew exactly what each woman needed to do to go before the king. In other words, have a pageant for the king, and the king would choose who would be his next queen. Esther was also taken into the king's palace and put in custody of Haggai, who had charge of the woman. And the young woman pleased him and won his favor. He's talking about Esther there. And he is Haggai, provided her with the cosmetics and her portion of food, and with 7 chosen young women from the king's palace, and advanced her women to the best place in the harem. Esther had not made known her people or kindred, for Mordecai had commanded her not to make it known. Verse 11, and every day Mordecai walked in front of the court of the harem to learn how Esther was and what was happening to her. We're going to jump to verse 15. It says, when the turn came for Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her as his own daughter to go to the king, she asked for nothing except for what Haggai, the king's eunuch, who had charge of the woman, advised. Now Esther was winning favor in the eyes of all who saw her. And when Esther was taken to King Ahasuerus, which is another name for Xerxes, into his royal palace in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign, the king loved Esther more than all the women, and she won grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. She won. That's it. She won. Out of all of those women, I have no idea how many women. It was probably hundreds of thousands of women from all of Persia that were taken into the palace. And Esther won. And if we stop right there, you can already see the hand of God on Esther to fulfill God's purposes in her life. I promise you we're going somewhere. So Esther goes on to find herself in a position in the palace. She's plucked from her home. She loses her parents, she's plucked from her home, popped into the palace, and she's chosen to be queen. Esther finds herself in a very unique situation where she now has an opportunity to position herself in front of Haggai, who is in charge of all of the women, and before the king. Now we're going to fast forward just a bit, because here's where the real story gets great. Because when Esther, in all of this journey that she experiences, there is a moment of why she was placed into a palace for such a time as this. When you fast forward through the book, you'll see that Esther actually intervenes to save the king's life when there were 2 eunuchs that tried to conspire against him. And then even further in the Bible, you will read that Haman, he's the villain in this story, he tries to literally kill all of the Jews. All of them. And he does it through manipulation, and he does it through lies. And he presents an idea to the king, and this king loves his royal decrees, right? This guy just decrees it. But here's the cool part about it. God is working. God is up to something really amazing, and he decides to use Esther. Somebody who had 0 influence in the palace, somebody who had no heritage in Persia, and somebody who was an orphan. And so the king decrees that he's going to wipe out all of the Jews, but he doesn't really know that he's going to do that. So then Esther realizes she has an opportunity. Mordecai comes to her and says, don't forget, perhaps you were put into a palace for such a time as this. That's the one verse out of this whole book that is life-changing, and that is what we're going to talk about to you. Because here's the thing, Esther lost 3 things in her life, and I think there's some of us in this room that have also lost these things. She lost her family. at a very young age. The tragedy of it. Can you imagine? Probably some of you have walked through that, or the loss of a child or a sibling. Grief. It's a journey. She lost her home. She got taken from her family in Mordecai and put into an unknown place with an unknown people, foreign. And then she lost her freedom. Regardless of her getting chosen to be queen, and regardless of the fact that she was royalty, she still lost a lot of freedom. Yeah. She was bound to be in the kingdom. If she was not going to be chosen, she would have resided her life into a harem of women, and that is where she was going to stay. That's what she had to give up to be in there. But she found herself in a unique position in front of three very important people. And this is where I want to talk to you guys about, because this, for all of the women here in this place, is what I want to talk to you about. Because ladies, listen to me, within the sound of my voice, God has positioned you in front of three very important environments that you have the opportunity to change, that you have the opportunity to be carriers of miracles, that you have the opportunity to make an impact in your life. Yes. And you have the choice. Because Mordecai, here's what he represents. He represents your impact on your family. This is your intimate relationships and your relatives. The second person, Haggai, he represents your impact on working and social environments. If you work, guess what? You have an impact there. If you have relationships that are outside of your family, you have an impact there. My father would always tell me growing up, he would say, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Right? So annoying. He would say it all the time. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Yes, Dad, show me your friends and I'll show you. And then my sister started saying it. Oh my God. I have an older sister. She's the middle child, but she acts like the oldest, right? Anybody else like that in the room? Middle child is the boss. I know. They say there's some psyche behind it, right? Come on, don't be scared. There we go. There you go. The bossy pants. I love y'all. Love little bossy pants people. I was the youngest. I had an older brother, and my sister started saying it. And my brother, he would blow her off, and he would say, "Who cares?" And I would say, "Really? Okay, maybe this needs to happen." I'm the baby. We're people pleasers. We like to make everybody happy, and then we realize we can't make everybody happy because we're not Nutella and pizza. And so we have to get a hold of ourselves. If you've never had Nutella, your life has not changed. All right. So Mordecai represents the family. Haggai represents your impact on working and social environments. Esther knew she was going to be in a palace with women she did not know. Yeah. And with people who had a different value system. With people who did not serve their God. With people who made choices very differently than them. But she knew she had an opportunity. She knew that she could either focus on the tragedy of her being removed and plucked from her family, or she could focus on the people that God brought in front of her.
That's right.
The third thing is King Xerxes. Guess what, ladies? Not that you have kings in your life, but you have leaders all around you.
That's right.
And these are spiritual leaders, and these are natural leaders, and these are political leaders. Come on, can I get an amen on that one? We have come out of a season of unrest in our culture and our season where I have realized more than ever that when honoring our leaders is not there anymore. Even in this culture, we don't know how to honor leaders. We don't know how to honor leaders with our words. We don't know how to honor leaders on our social media posts. We don't know how to honor leaders even in our life. And I'm not talking about you buying a gift for a leader. I'm talking about the posture of your heart towards somebody that you do not agree with. And I'm talking about a posture of your heart that you have nothing in common with. Another thing my father told me, and some of you met my father a couple weeks ago. He was the one that had the incredible PowerPoint presentation and all of the 25 million points in the notes and all of the above, and his computer setup. He has it down to a T. I'm not there yet. But another thing that my father told me is that he said, the greatest boss that you'll ever have, and I always paused, and he would say, is a bad boss.
Yeah.
And I would be like, what? And he would say, the greatest boss you'll ever have is a bad boss. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. And he said, here's the thing. You will never learn about honor and character more than when you are given an opportunity to rise to the occasion. And listen, there's no such thing as honor and character in our lives as women unless we are given an opportunity where we face it and we don't like it. and we've got to do it because the Holy Spirit and the God that I serve lives on the inside of me, and He says you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And so when you have a boss that is a micromanager, oh glory, help me. When you have a boss that looks over your shoulder, when you have a boss that is not ethical, you have an opportunity to do what is right and to honor them. And I'm not saying you do what they do, I'm saying you do better and you let God take care of you and bless you. But see, Esther realized she had these three people, her family, her social relationships, and leadership around her where she could position her heart as a woman. And God gave her the wisdom. And the question is this: your position, how you position yourself in their presence will determine the purposes of God inside of you.
Amen.
If you never, ever, ever do great things in your mind, if you never, ever, ever stand on a stage or preach or sing or have a great YouTube channel or whatever it is that you feel like is great, if you are great at family, relationship, and leadership, I promise you, you will change the world. There is something to be said about when women decide in their heart there's going to be a certain posture of how we handle ourselves. And when I say posture of our heart, I want to break that down just a minute for you. It's a position of our heart, because guess what? Your heart encases all you feel and think and believe and desire. And God has given those things to you. But you have an opportunity to submit them to Jesus, and through the Word of God, change the world. You know, our men got together this last week. It was incredible when they had their time together. And these men, I love it when God brings men together, because guess what? The home starts to change and the community starts to change. But when ladies come together, come on man, I'm sorry, I just gotta go here for a second. But when a lady comes together with another lady, and then another lady comes together with another lady, and they say, guess what? We're not gonna gossip and we're not gonna slander. We're going to actually position ourselves before the Lord and before people. God will change the world. I think about Mother Teresa, a woman who had nothing. If she had something, she gave it away. And that woman has changed the world. I think about my mother and my grandmother who prayed. And here's what I want to tell you. If anything good has come into your life, it's because somebody was praying for you. And so don't stop praying, and don't stop just acknowledging the fact that somebody is praying for you. Because I am a third generation Bible believer, Jesus thumping, Holy Ghost Spirit ground. And my daughter will be the same way. And guess what? If you're not, you still can be.
That's right.
There's no reason why you cannot shift the posture of your life and say, alcoholism and drug addiction, promiscuity, all of these things, mental disease, no way. I'm changing it this way. And my heart and my life and my direction are going another way. God can do miracles inside of a woman. It's not by accident that a woman can carry a seed and bring it to life.
That's right.
Guess what? God knew what He was doing. That is a literal, for all of my youngsters here in this room, that is a literal definition of how a child is brought to this world. But God also has a figurative plan for our life, that we can carry the seed within us and we can birth something amazing that change the world.
Preach it, Jessica.
And so if you have kids or don't kids, God's got something inside of you that He is up to, that He's birthing and that He's growing, if you let Him go deep and do the work. Because when you feel like you're buried, you're actually being planted. And something will be growing and blooming inside of you before you know it. And so here we go. We're talking about Mordecai and Haggai and King Xerxes. So the question is, how you position yourself in their presence will determine your purpose. So here we're going to break it down. I'm going to give you 4 points real fast with Esther and how she positioned herself before these individuals, that God changed the course of her life and an entire generation of people. The first one is connected. She connected well with people, culture, and environment that was unknown. The result, she had favor with people. Guess what? Get out of your box. It's okay. Get to know people. Learn other people's story. Allow God for you to be an ambassador to people who do not know God and do not have a relationship with Jesus Christ. He will use you. He will use you. You don't have to have everybody around you that talks like you, acts like you, smells like you, thinks like you. Find somebody new that you don't know. I love messy people. Absolutely absolutely love messy people. It doesn't bother me when you're a hot mess in my presence. Because guess what? I will look at you and I will say, it's time to get over it because God's got a better plan for you. In fact, I told somebody this morning, if you need an injection of the joy of the Lord, why don't you come on over to my house because that's where you're going to get it today. So the second, we're going to read Esther 2:9, and it says, and a young woman pleased Haggai and won his favor. Can you believe this? Esther is presented before a eunuch. She doesn't have any relationship with him. And she says, whatever you tell me, I'll do. Whatever you want me to wear, I will wear. Whatever incense and perfume you want me to bathe in, I will do it. Because guess what? She knew something. That if Haggai knows what the king likes, then she should do it and have a greater advantage towards winning the queen. Yeah. And see, here's the thing in Esther 2:15, it says, when the turn came for Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her as his own daughter, to go into the king, she asked for nothing except what Haggai, this king's eunuch, who had charged the woman, advised. Now Esther was winning favor in the eyes of all who saw her. Yeah. You want favor? Do you want favor in your life? Come on. Who wants favor in your life? Man, this is for you too. Listen, just because it's a woman I'm talking about today, and there's a woman up here on the stage, this is for you as well.
Right.
If you want favor in your life, guess what? Favor is demonstrated delight.
Yes.
That's it. It's demonstrated delight. And we all want to walk in favor of God. And if you want favor, listen, honor and obey God.
That's right.
And then don't stop honoring and obeying God. Right. Because guess what? People who have favor, usually started out the process years ago. Yes. You ever heard that overnight success? It doesn't exist. Yeah. Usually it's 5 years in the making before somebody pops onto the scene and they are all of a sudden the big word. You're like, this person came out of nowhere. No, they didn't. They've been hustling for 5, 7, 10 years. You want favor? Honor God for the rest of your life, and I promise you, you will have favor like nobody else. If you are a woman in this room, if you honor God through your body, your mind, your spirit, and your soul, God will give you incredible favor.
That's right.
And through the form of relationships and blessing and resources, so much that you can't even count it. Don't stop. Second thing is this. She cultivated a teachable spirit and obedient heart. Yes. You know, the word obedient is so taboo in our culture today. Like when you say obedient, people like cringe on the inside. Even my kids, I love them, but I'm like, listen, you're not obeying. Yeah, we do chores the other day. Yes, we do chores in our home. And so there was like, listen, we need help with this, and I need that. Every step of the way. Yeah, every step of the way. If you don't have kids, guess what? You're missing out on this. Okay, that was sarcasm. But listen, we believe in obedient heart in our home because guess what? God believes in an obedient heart as well. If you want to know what to do, read the Word of God. That's it. That's right. What I tell people. Because here's the thing. Obeying God is not hard. It's just not easy.
Yes.
Let me say that again. Obeying God is not hard. It's not easy.
That's right.
Because when you do it, it's going to hurt just a tad. You're going to have to give up something. But she cultivated a teachable spirit. Here's the result. She worked well with others and knew how to win. Yeah. Anybody want to know how to win in life? Win in their relationships? Yes, thank you. I got one amen over there. All of y'all want to lose? All right, losers. Okay, let's go. That's okay. Where's Kimberly at? She knows my winning heart. Her and I got a competitive spirit together. Jesus. Okay, so she cultivated a teachable spirit in obedient heart. She worked well with others and knew how to win because she was able to be taught. She never said to herself, I know everything and I have arrived. Yeah. Another thing my father taught me, right? Come on, this is Mother's Day message. I'm talking about my dad. And he said to me, listen, the minute you think you've arrived, you're over.
Yeah.
That's good.
The minute you think you know everything, you're done. That's it. So you never stop learning. Every time you do something, ask yourself, God, how can I grow? How can I get better? How can I expand myself? And He will do it. And He will bring people around you that will also expand you. Esther 2:20 says, Esther had not made known her kindred or her people as Mordecai had commanded her. For Esther obeyed Mordecai just as when she was brought up by him. This is an adult woman who honored and obeyed her uncle. Come on now. That's right. If there's an area in your life that you're like, Lord, I need to position my heart differently. Who am I not listening to? God will give you people to listen to. The question is will you listen to those people? A lot of times people will come to me and ask for advice, and I don't have any relationship with them. And I know better, because relationship is everything when it comes to speaking heart to heart with somebody. Because I can speak into my kid's life because I have a relationship with them. Who do you have in your corner that is telling you the truth about your life? And listen, there will be somebody who needs to tell you the truth and be big enough on the inside to say, you know what? It sounds awful, but you're right. You are right. The third thing is she courageously faced her fears and her possible death. She courageously faced her fears and the possibility of her death. This is where Esther had to make a very big choice. What was she going to be on the inside? And here was the result. She was faith-filled and a risk taker. Esther 4:6, go gather all the Jews to be found in Susa. Hold a fast on my behalf. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. And I and my young woman will also fast as you do. Then I will go to the king, though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. In that moment, she decided that her life was not worth the purpose of God for her people. I want to break that down for you. There's somewhere in your life, ladies, where you're fighting the wrong battle.
Yes.
You're fighting your husband, you're fighting your kids, you're fighting the situation, you're fighting the wrong battle. God wants to give you some inside grit, is what I call it, where He will give you the faith to rise up and say, what do I need to do? And I tell you, you will never go wrong by praying for this situation and then saying, you know what? If my life needs to be set aside, my desires, my wishes, my goals to set aside for the promises and the purposes of God to be fulfilled for me, I will do it.
Yes.
And that requires sacrifice. But she knew she could do it, and she was faith-filled and a risk taker. The fourth thing is this: she consistently remained authentic to her God and herself, true to her faith and values. I am the most authentic individual you will ever meet. You see me now like this, you will see me Monday like this. I might look like a hot mess in sweatpants and a ponytail on top of my head, but I will still be like this. And here's the great thing. You are meant to be authentic. You don't need to be like me, and I don't need to be like you. You don't need to look like that other person in order to be successful.
Right.
You don't have to compare yourself to every highlight reel on Instagram and Facebook. God has given you your path and your journey. Use it and make the most out of it. Because God wants to do something amazing in you if you just take a look at the path that's right in front of you. And here was the result. God used her uniquely, powerfully, and creatively. Esther 7:3, then Queen Esther answered, if I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it pleases the king, let my life be granted me for my wish and my people for my request. For we have been sold, and my people to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated. God used her powerfully. And that's the wonderful thing about Esther that I love, is that when she faced tragedy in her life, she had a decision to make. She could be bound by fear. And guess what? Fear tells you two things. You could be a victim of your situation, right? And you can isolate yourself.
Yeah.
Fear will always isolate you. Always isolate you. If you are alone on a path, guess what? There might be something in your heart that you're scared about. Because faith will empower you to step forward. You can position yourself as a victim of your situation and the people who played the part, or you can position yourself to lean into the purposes and the process to fulfill His purpose in your life. Because God will change the course of history through you. Esther did not get hung up on what she lost and what she did not know. And that's the other thing with fear, is that it will do two things. Again, it will either cause you to focus on what you lose, because that's what it does, right? We want to hold on to everything that we have. This is what I've lost. Or what you do not know. The unknown path that is ahead of you. And so here's what I want to say to all of our ladies in the house this morning. If you have gone through any type of tragic situation in your life, any type of tragedy, any type of devastation and loss and grief, anything in your life where you've said to yourself, why me? I want to encourage you, if you give God an opportunity to change your heart and to turn the position of it and ask the question, why not you?
Yeah.
See, when Esther was in the palace, she could have sat with the harem of women. She could have cried her eyeballs out. She probably did. She could have cried her eyeballs out, hid away, sat in isolation, asked questions, why me? Why can this happen? How dare life? And I've never done anything wrong. I don't deserve this. She could have even started pointing fingers at people in her life and said, it's your fault that I'm this way. Why didn't Mordecai do more in my life? Would begin to blame people, would begin to point fingers and say, why not you? Why not this? Why not that? If you have come from a family where you've experienced tragedy and heartbreak, it is so easy to point the finger at your family and say it's their fault. Esther lost all that she loved and knew, everything. Her family, and including Mordecai. Because guess what? Being in the palace, she would never have the relationship with Mordecai that she ever had again. It was gone. But God did something in Esther's heart. And she chose to take her heart and reposition it well in front of these three important people who she knew had the power to change the course of her life and her people's life. Esther 4:14 says, and who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this. So ladies, if you are in a moment or in a season of your life, you don't see out, you don't see the way, you don't have the answers, you don't have people, you don't even have the resources, and you're saying, I don't know, and fear is isolating you or holding you back, I want to let you know that God possibly has placed you there for such a time as this. Yep. You have a child that is giving you a challenge at home. You have a friend or a relationship in your life that you don't know how to answer or don't know what to do. God has positioned you there for such a time as this. One of the things that I love about reading about the book of Joshua, I'm going to take it to Joshua just for a minute. This is all for my men here in the room. One of the things that I love about Joshua is that when we read about Joshua in his book, the book of Joshua, there is so much more that happened in his life prior to all of the incredible defeats that he accomplished. Yeah. All of the things, all of the wars, and all of the battles that he faced and won. So many things happened, and he positioned himself as a steward of Moses. And many of us know Moses, he was the most humble man on the face of the earth, which I think is so ironic if he wrote that book. He's writing that about himself. I don't know about that. But he positioned, right? Because if you call yourself humble, are you really humble? But anyways, that's a question for heaven. But he positioned himself as a steward of Moses. And he didn't wait for a title. He didn't wait for a position. He didn't wait for somebody to empower him. He said, I'm going to be a servant of God and a warrior for God. And nobody had to tell him that. He did it his own. And for my ladies in this room, guess what? You have a heart that is a warrior's heart. A lot of times that's said to our men because it's very true, but there is something about women who know how to fight when the battle is on. And a lot of times if we do not understand the purposes of God in our lives, we'll fight each other. That's why women can be so catty. I grew up in the ATL, saw it every day of my life. But God has given you a heart that knows how to fight and that knows how to step up to the battle and to the heat and to say, guess what? God has put me here for a reason. So instead of saying, why am I in the battle? Why is this happening to me? Saying, yes, God, you've placed me here because you've given me everything that I need to fight this battle. Come on, here we go. Ask yourself, ladies, where do you need to reposition your heart? Where do you need to reposition what God is doing in your life? Where do you need to change? Where do you need to say, all right, Lord, instead of backing down from the heat that I'm experiencing or the rejection that I'm feeling, how can I step up to the call that God has for me? I love the fact that my husband called me fearless, but it's not true. And here's why. Because I, every day, face my fears. And a lot of people call me that, and it's not true. The reason is because I feel I'm more courageous than I am fearless. Because courage says I will step up to my fear, and I will face it head on every single day of my life, and I will plow battle through.
That's right.
And fearless says I have no fears. Now, it's nothing wrong if you've got the bracelet. I've got the bracelet that says fearless. You know what I'm saying? BCBG. But anyways, we're courageous women. We're willing to say, whatever might come my way. You think Esther had any idea what was planned for her? All she knew was what to do every step of the way. Here's Mordecai. I'm going to honor him. I'm going to listen to what he instructed me to do. I'm going to do it. I don't care what anybody says. He told her, do not tell anybody that you are a Jew. And she did it. And then she was positioned in front of Haggai. And he said, wear this, do that. And it was probably the ugliest colors on the face of the planet. Come on, all my girls. When you're like, I want to wear pink. And somebody's like, no, you need to wear brown. She did it. And then there was King Xerxes. She knew when to stay silent and when to speak up.
Yeah.
And at the end of her life, she was an ambassador for God's people.
Yeah.
Ladies, you're an ambassador for God in your home. You are an ambassador for God in your working environment. You are an ambassador for God before leaders, spiritual, natural, political, all of the above. If you give God an opportunity to do something and reposition the posture of your heart, I guarantee you will change the world. Ladies, will you stand with me? All the ladies in the house. I want to pray for you. I don't care if you're a mom or not. God has still placed inside of you the ability to be a carrier of miracles. Amen. Whether it was then, now, or in the future, God has positioned you for such a time as this. He has. And whether you believe it or not, one day you will know the truth of what God is saying in your life. Because God has a promise and a declaration over your life that is your own. It's authentic to who you are. And there's for some of you within the sound of my voice who have been fighting the comparison fight. Where you're saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not bold enough, I'm not talented enough. Guess what? It doesn't matter with God.
That's right.
It does not matter. If you say, Lord, I am your servant, use me, get ready for the adventure of a life. He will take you on an incredible story and an incredible journey that is your own if you give him the opportunity. And so I want you to close your eyes. And Father, right now, I thank you for the women in this room, Lord, the ones, God, that have realized that they are fighting a fight and they're positioning themselves in a way that is actually bringing about more harm in their lives. And Lord, they want to change it and they want to turn it. And Lord, I thank you for the women who need to be connected and cultivated and be courageous and consistent with their God and their values. And Lord, I thank you for the women who have the purposes and the plan of God that will go before them. I thank you for the women and the men in this room that will carry about the promises of God. I thank you for the women and the mothers in this room who have the heart to change a generation, who have a heart to change their world, who have a heart to change the community. And Lord, I thank you for the women within the sound of my voice that you have brought to Pneuma. God, I thank you for all that you're doing in their lives. I thank you for everything that is a part of them. God, whether they're in the battle or they're about to step into the battle. Father, would you help us to ask the question of, why not me versus why me, God?
Yes, yes.
And Lord, that we would be courageous women of God who know how to carry the Father's heart to another generation in need. And Lord, I thank you for the women here that you have called to do something amazing. And all they need to do is make the first step. Yes. And I also thank you for the women who just need the first step to let go of something. Would you give them the strength? Lord, I thank you